Hey everybody, it's Dick here. This year I had the opportunity to visit the Goodwood Festival of Speed on the Thursday opening day. I got a message from a friend I met at the Dispatch Rally in Dorset that he had an extra ticket and wanted to know if I wanted to come along. Of course I did, and I was on my bike as soon as I could on my way down to the estate. The weather was beautiful. The roads in that part of the country are a treat to ride. We met up in a village a bit north of the estate and rode in together. Visiting Goodwood is such fun. I'm always impressed at how the sweeping fields in front of the estate are packed full with cars by the time the afternoon comes around. We got there early because, according to my host, we needed the whole day to see everything. I think he was being optimistic as he had planned on camping the 4 days of the festival and leaving late on Sunday night. I only had the 1 day, so it was a whirlwind tour, but I was happy to see what I could in the time afforded me. Everyone attending Goodwood was anxious, especially this guy in the white car next to us who was creeping up on my host and trying to race me to the front. It's always amazing how people in the country don't realize that filtering is legal in the UK, and they always get a bit upset with bikers who try and come around them. Seeing the shuttle tractors collecting visitors from the parking fields reminds me of another impressive feature of the Goodwood experience, that being the impeccable organization and professionalism by all of the staff and crew. It is a massive undertaking, no doubt, but I never see a hair out of place. It was a short walk past the hotel from the camping area to the entry gate. Friendly security personnel checked our bags, make sure. I don't think they were actually looking for bombs or weapons. More than once they made a comment about sleeping in spirit alcohol. We walked past helicopters, private planes, and other high-end luxury items displayed in booths and tents as if they were produce in a farmer's market, which just was a early reminder of how much money Goodwood attracts. The sheer number of white Panama hats worn unironically was a straw poll of the per capita income of most attendees. Past the helicopter and private plane peddling was the Supercar paddock, showcasing privately owned supercars. I'm always reminded that no matter how many episodes of Top Gear I've watched, I know relatively nothing about this corner of motorsport. I was dazzled by cars with names I'd never heard of, and reminded of the spectacle of names I have. The Ferrari Roadster Spider Monza SP2 particularly struck my fancy. Already by the end of the first lane of cars, I was overwhelmed and a bit exhausted at what I was looking at. The amount of money and time and effort and expertise and artistry and design that went into these vehicles was astonishing. At the end of the Supercar paddock, we managed to find some bikes, which made me feel a bit more at home. But the first bike we saw was the new Triumph Rocket 3, which is a 2500cc, 3-cylinder, 26,000-pound motorcycle. So still a bit out of my price range and wheelhouse. It was a beautiful looking bike. The next thing was the Triumph FTR 1200, which also is a bit too pricey for me, and I'm not interested in the Indian since Polaris seems to have abandoned its very loyal Victory customers. The CCM Spitfire was still a no-show, which I guess is par for the course for their delivery issues. The new Brough Superior, which I think is about 60,000 pounds, made a showing, and it is a ugly, ugly thing, and I don't know really how I feel about it. The Kawasaki Ninja H2R, the fastest production bike ever made, was a bit shy, hiding under its cover for the entire time that it was in the Supercar paddock. Electric vehicles had a large presence at this year's Festival of Speed. Harley-Davidson had its new Livewire motorcycle, which actually looked pretty good in that frame. It did not look like a Harley, but Harley's trying to hold on to some sort of noise character with its engine, and I'm looking forward to seeing it go up the hill. Under?
It's the barrier.
Thank you.
Well, the starting grid just...
We were. That's right.
Somebody else would that definitely happen.
He's got his helmet.
Can be a bit unpredictable on the loose. The guys that used to compete in these back in the day specialised in left foot braking.
Why not? The white roller. With coupe.
You don't have to walk far over at the wheel. Who knows? I think it's jacked off. Sorry, that did have a tapering. Rather more. A fire
On the road, when you say you're on the other side.
So many of those today. That's the CCM, right?
Yeah, he's going to wheel it. He wheelied a bike all the way around the Isle of Man TT.
That's the Supra. Yeah. Surely, come on, someone spin the Supra. What? Oh. This guy's gonna do it in the Ford. Yeah, there we go. That's worth the price of admission right there.
Obviously not his car.
Yep, not his tires. A walk through the lawn of the privately owned Bentleys was another treat. I do like the jelly bean aesthetic of the old behemoths. The recent exploitation of geometric shapes by Bentley designers has been fun to watch. I'm also always fascinated at the rare mint condition examples of early models that seem abundant at Goodwood. I was happy to see a good number of owners polishing their cars. It's good that they use some elbow grease once in a while. Over with the plebs in the Toyota stall, I managed to see the new Supra for the first time without its camera-fooling camouflage wrap. There were some nice design features, but overall I wasn't as smitten as I thought I would be. The interior is downright cavernous, but it felt a bit cheap overall, and it seemed to me it was a reskinned Z4. Now she's a beaut, isn't she? A veritable fleet of Formula One cars were on show. I was surprised to learn that these older models were also privately owned by collectors rather than manufacturers, teams, or museums. And here I thought collecting motorbikes was cumbersome. Seeing how my companions and other visitors reacted to seeing some of these old F1 cars, I was again reminded of the entire alternate universes existing in parallel to my own. I was happy that we were able to eavesdrop on some scrutinizing of these old American bikes. It turns out they were from Florida, especially for this show.
So controls on this one again, the same as
yeah, this is compression release, throttle,
Kill switch.
kill button, telegraph. It's a real telegraph button.
Do you need, so just put some red tape over that too?
just along the
Along the top.
I'm gonna hunt some runs down here.
I would imagine the Ducati boys.
That's where I was going.
Will have some.
I was going to the red team first.
Now, when I'm looking
Water
here,
bottle not included.
I'm seeing a thread
Yeah.
and a spline, and there's no bolt in there. Why
Yeah.
would that be?
So when I first was doing these, I would put a bolt in it with a remote starter to start it.
So that's purely to assist, it's not part of the function.
And then I got to the point to where I don't use the starter anymore. If they won't start by hand, I know they're not tuned well enough.
Yes.
Quit using the crutch, as they call it.
When was this one last at?
About a month ago before that. Florida.
May 28th.
Is that right? How many years?
14 now.
I'm proud of that.
Absolutely. Steam train that was going to a wedding. And the person driving the train was a mother-in-law.
Oh boy.
Ah, there you go.
Driving now.
There's so many high-performance vehicles at Goodwood that you start to go snowblind. You get a kind of exhibition hypnosis, and you stop seeing things. And really, the things that stick out are the little gems of shiny. It's like being a fish in a school and then seeing a shiny lure. You kind of gravitate towards one, like this 1940 BMW. I've missed entire lifetimes worth of vehicles at that show, vehicles that people have devoted their entire careers to, simply because there was too much to see. I think that's the beauty of an event like Goodwood. There is so much motoring history and such a range of styles, classes, and heritage that every visitor will take something unique from their visit. The paddocks and the tents and the displays of most every car make and manufacturer was packed full with visitors except for the NASCAR lane, which was veritably empty during my visit. The number of full mechanics teams doing diagnostics and test runs of the engines on these cars could people an army. The pure mechanical majesty of the early motors at the show made you think about how resilient early designers were with all of the switches and toggles and pressure gauges. It was just something that I could see why people were resistant to and scared of these new contraptions barreling down horse paths and rickety lanes. Look at the size of that chain and gear. Imagine getting one of your fingers caught in there trying to get some brush or bracken free. The brass and steel and wood of these old machines are the materials of artists as much as they are of engineers. These beautiful vehicles are sculptural in their utility. Once the engineers figured out how to make these things work, the designers made these things beautiful, and nothing is more beautiful than a streamlined era car, train, or any sort of vehicle coming out of that time period.
Need a bit of music.
We wandered into a hedgerowed field which seemed to be the island of misfit toys of show contributors. A half-dozen lovingly restored VW buses were the gatekeepers of quirky and rare examples of Fiats, Aston Martins, and things I'd never seen before.
Why are you stopping?
Well, he saw because the car was coming away, and he had to stop because he didn't want to go.
Bugatti, Bugatti, Bugatti.
Get them from Germany, get them pressure. They inject oil through the wood. So it's all injected wood. Now £150 each for each shim.
Yeah, that's more like it. Oops, sorry.
Excuse me, sorry.
Pendine Sands, it crashed on Pendine Sands. Killed the driver and they buried the car. Years and years ago on the beach, and then about 20 years ago they
It's never fully restored.
Well, it's been buried for 42 years.
Everyone wants a Ferrari, but I've always resisted the pull. But around every turn at Goodwood, there was another cooler, sexier example of the red stallion. These two classic versions were among my favorites. This year marked 70 years of Aston Martin at Goodwood. To mark the occasion, the circular drive in front of the main house hosted an example of every iteration of Aston Martin over the last 70 years. It was an auto show in and of itself. After the opportunity of walking around the cars in the drive, the cars then pulled out onto the track in a parade formation before going to the starting line and running the hill climb. Suffering from heat exhaustion, dehydration, and overstimulation, it was time for me to make my leave from this year's Goodwood Festival of Speed. There were things I missed and things that I saw that I didn't understand, but all in all, it was a great day out. On my way back to my bike, I visited the new Honda stall to see the new NSX. For £189,000, I'd expect wing doors at least, and a more prestigious badge. My last stop before the exit was the modest Ariel stand that still offered high performance for the working man, although I was disappointed at how uncomfortable their bike was to sit on. There's fire coming out of the side. Very special thanks to Ian Fitzgerald for inviting me down to the Goodwood Festival of Speed this year. Ian has a great YouTube channel that showcases his motoring and motorcycling prowess. I encourage you guys to check it out. The link is in the bio. I look forward to attending Goodwood in the future and maybe getting another chance like I did in 2016 of racing up that hill towards the Flint Wall. If you like that video and you want to see more like them, hit like, share, and subscribe.